Hey, how are you? I'm SliceofOtaku, and it's so great to be talking to you. And this is our anniversary video. 1 year ago, I started making videos, and my first video was actually Amethyst's True Potential. And here with me, I have the voice actress of Amethyst, Michaela Dietz.
Wait, time out. Your first video ever was Amethyst True Potential?
Yes, it was a theory on just how powerful Amethyst truly is because I felt like she was underrated in comparison to just like Garnet being the powerhouse and like
Right.
Pearl's war experience, but I feel like Amethyst is just as capable as like Steven. Like the potential level is like up here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way about her. How apropos that I'm here now on your 1 year anniversary.
Indeed.
Because I voice a character named Amethyst on Steven Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I watched that show.
Oh, do you? I was going to ask. This is
Yeah,
getting weird.
yeah.
I was like, I'll just go with it. I'm being so weird. I'll just go with it. Okay, sorry.
But now, like, so on Steven Universe,
Yeah.
I feel like Amethyst is the embodiment of what Rose Quartz wanted from Earth, just to have that freedom. Because Amethyst is just like a really mellow and free, like she just does as she pleases in comparison to everyone else who's like kind of more rule oriented. So as because she is able to be so free, she also struggles from that because she doesn't know exactly where she should go, what direction she should lead herself in. So I wanted to ask you a bit about just not knowing if you have any similarities to the character in that regard, where you just don't know if you belong or have ever had any feelings like that, where you just don't know where to go with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you just start with like you're like,
Yeah,
let's
we're
just get
going
in there.
into it. Like,
Michaela, there's no like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? It's like, how are you dealing with being a human? I mean, at the core, I think that is the most humanistic like characteristic is doubting oneself. I mean, maybe yeah. I think at some point it's every human doubts themselves, right? So I certainly relate to Amethyst on a number of levels. I mean, Slice, you know that I'm adopted.
Yeah.
Maybe your audience now knows that I'm adopted. So I was born in Korea, adopted to an American family, raised in upstate New York, in a teeny rural town, in a white family. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of me that relates to Amethyst, especially, you know, with her sort of storyline of not knowing her origins. Certainly in the On the Run,
yeah,
where she goes back to the kindergarten. So, dude, all that took, that was how, so I was recording for that right around the time when I was searching for my birth family in Korea. So everything was hitting, and I remember getting the script from Rebecca, and like, oh, I might tear up for a sec. But I remember getting the script from Rebecca and being like it was so heavy.
Yeah.
I would have been moved by it anyway, but the fact that I was sort of having a parallel experience in my real life, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, what am I gonna do?
Like, whenever I edit, like, we edit videos or whatever. So when I edit a video like that, an episode like that, it gives me goosebumps every time. Whenever I hear like Amethyst's like delivery, like how she feels, and just crying over in the hole that she emerged from, not knowing who she is. So it was just, it's always really heavy. How do you go from always being like, because I felt like Amethyst's character was like stagnant. She was always just like really happy and just doing herself. But
angry.
Yeah, or angry.
Yeah.
It's like Amethyst, her character, you just know her. You kind of just know her. So whenever she's having an issue, it's very apparent. You can see it in her demeanor. So how do you transfer from being, really happy to just being a totally different character in an episode, in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think she hides behind humor. She hides behind sarcasm. I know someone like that. So I think, you know, really it's especially in the earlier episodes, it seems like she's always on edge. I mean, there was a period of recording where I felt like I was just yelling. I would always just be like, why don't you know what I mean, like that's, and I was looking for more levels, and then finally the Amethyst arc started and I was like, oh, okay, we're going there. So I would say the way I transition, you know, when voicing Amethyst, the way I transition between the more mellow, chill moments to either these crazy outbursts, or, I mean, it all comes from a feeling of insecurity.
Yeah.
So I try to keep that in mind, because at core she feels, I think, like she's just never going to be good enough, and she
in comparison to everyone else, is just
exactly
there.
Like she's somehow wrong. And I mean, wow, I think a lot of I've heard from firsthand from a lot of Steven Universe enthusiasts that they can relate to that. I mean, again, a human experience. At some point, we all feel like, oh, we just don't belong. I definitely felt like that. Well, in my teenage years, you know, when you're like your hormones are raging, and you're like, I don't. But that compounded with the fact that I was like looking for sort of physical reference points of like, oh, what am I going to look like when I grow up? And I just am staring at my like 6'2" white dad and my like 5'10" white mom, and like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I can shapeshift into them. Like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, like as it, I feel like I would have loved to have a show like Steven Universe when I was a kid growing up.
People say that often.
Because, like, for me, I'm black, right?
What? But, I didn't even know. I'm colorblind, son. Like, what? Okay.
But yeah, and then I went to, like, a school that was predominantly white, and I was considered a smart kid, like a gifted kid. And so all my classes were just, I was the only oddball. Like, I was the only black kid in a group of just, like, white children. And so there were just a lot of times where I felt, I mean, in elementary school, I didn't really know there was a difference between, there wasn't really any complex of, like, race or anything like that.
Right, we're taught that.
Yeah, and then so going into 6th grade, where there's a mixture of, like, you know, kids from all different schools and things like that, it just, like, began to weigh on me. And there were just people who focused a lot on race, and then I would have, you know, my white friends saying, "Oh no, he's cool. He's with us. He's like a Oreo. He's white on the inside." Yeah,
I hate that. I've been called a banana before, or a Twinkie.
Oh my
I hate
gosh,
that.
it's terrible. It's
I hate that.
It's so rough, and so I didn't know what I was. Like, I knew I was black, but I just felt like I wasn't being. Like, why was it so important, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to having this sort of, like, ethnic identity crisis. Also, what it seems like, I don't know, maybe you can tell me if I'm on the right track here, but it seems like what was weighing on you was like, well, okay, I don't quite know where I belong, but, like, who are you to tell me how black I am? Or who are you to tell me that I'm passable as white? And what does that even mean? I started, like, divert here a little bit, but with the whole Colin Kaepernick scandal.
Yeah.
Not scandal, but, like, I feel like it's somewhat of a scandal because everybody's coming down on him and being like, oh, he's not black enough. He's adopted by a white family. And, like, black enough? What does that mean?
Yeah, it's just, this has always been an issue.
Who he is,
Yeah, and it doesn't even, who you are doesn't have to be, like, directly linked to a specific, you're just race. Who you are.
Right.
And I'd have people saying, he's on our team. He's on our team.
Team?
Yeah, my middle school was horrible. It was just, a lot of it was, it felt like, I related to Everybody Hates Chris a lot. Like, it felt like everything was divided by race. It was just segregation back, I don't know, it was terrible. But now,
doesn't sound fun.
yeah, now I'm happy to be me. And
Yeah.
it seems like you're the same way.
I'm happy that you're you too.
Thank you.
Let's do the freedom. But so right, like I mean, I'm like in my 30s, and I feel like I've been coming of age at the same time as Amethyst. Like emotionally, I feel like I'm just starting to feel comfortable with who I am, and in a cool way that's sort of, I've been synchronized with Amethyst's arc as well. I feel like finally we're seeing in these later seasons, like she's starting to really trust herself, and I think we see it in sort of, it starts around, I guess, like when she's able to fuse with Steven. I mean, they bond over being like the worst. They bond over feeling like they both don't belong, and through that they're able to then sort of trust themselves and each
because
other.
they both struggled with issues where they just felt out of place, like they weren't good enough for whatever they were like what they have to do. They don't know, because Steven had issues with not knowing what he was for, what his destiny is, and Amethyst not knowing where she should go, who she is, and what she's going to become.
Yeah.
And so they just meshed over that, and it was really interesting to see, because earlier they fought. They actually had a fight, and we had never seen a real fight like that between Steven and another gem. It was huge, and so just to see how far Amethyst has come, meeting the Famethyst and having a bunch of just, family up in space, and then family where she is, and it's just really great. You make your family. You decide who you love. It's just, I think that's one of the great messages of the universe.
Totally, that family is a very broad and malleable term.
Yeah.
It's so interesting what you were just saying, Slice. Like I just had a brain fart.
But it was really
I had a
interesting,
really
right?
good thought. What you said was really interesting, and I was like, fart. What was I saying? I had it in my head, but like her family. That she may never truly feel like she belongs with the Famethyst or with the Crystal Gems, or even just as, a lone wolf, like trying to strike out on her own. She may never quite feel like she belongs squarely in any place, but what I think I've learned from her is that even if you never 100% feel like you belong, you still have people out there who want to love you,
accept
and
you for who you are.
Exactly. And I think that's like, she's found that with the Crystal Gems.
Definitely.
She definitely had that bond with Rose. Or it seems like that, like in the flashbacks,
Yeah.
She cares so much for Steven. I mean, she's
a big sister. She's really just there for him in whatever way he needs her to be.
Right.
She just shapeshifts, essentially.
Yeah. She'll just conform.
Yeah, she's just like a good mentor, in a sense, teaching him how to fuse properly and things like that. It's just really great.
Yeah, and I mean, I think though a lot of it's interesting. It's sort of, I guess there is a big sister, younger brother dynamic, but it seems like actually Steven teaches her so much more. And it's not like he's telling her, oh, this is how you should act, this is how you should behave. I mean, the guy leads by example, and I think he just shows compassion for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that, I think she's also learned how to, love herself. That sounds so cheesy, but
it's that's Steven Universe. Steven Universe, like, when you break it down, it'll sound cheesy, but it's a moment thing. You have to feel it. It's just there for you.
Totally.
So I mean, for myself, I have a bunch of siblings. Like, I have a whole mess of a family, like just a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
how many in total? How many siblings in total?
I have 6.
Wow.
6 siblings, and I'm the baby. I'm the youngest. So they're all off on their own, doing their own things.
What's the biggest? Sorry to interrupt. What's the age gap between you and the next sibling?
Like 14
years.
Yeah, I was just
Oh, dude, so you're like only child's youngest child.
it's like
I had a similar experience.
yeah, it's so I always felt in a sense alone, like separated from them.
Yeah.
And then I'd see my brother's like scrapbooks and things like that where he was like his art. I'm just like I really want to know this guy better, but he's being a guy. He's off on his own adventures and things like that. And it's one of those things where you feel distanced, you feel away. And so the whole Amethyst thing, it really resonated with me because I was able to, it confirmed a notion of mine where it's like you create your family. You decide who you want to be with and just you accept them for who they are. I try my best to be more accepting. I am a very meticulous person when it comes to that, but like I'm just...
That was a very pragmatic way of
saying
that you're...
I'm bad, but I try.
No, you're not bad. You're not bad.
Steven Universe is a show that makes me want to be better and be a good person.
Here, yeah.
So thank you for that, and just Amethyst.
Don't thank me. Thank Rebecca. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Okay, there is quite a large age gap between you and the next oldest sibling of yours, but I would say don't give up on being able to connect with your biological family members, because I think a lot of that happens when you reach a certain age. I mean, so my adopted brother is 4 years older than me, but he went away to high school. So, it felt like I was just home alone because my sister, who's 7 years older than me, she's my adopted sister, she was already at college. So I was just, home alone with my parents a ton. So I can tap into that, but my sister used to, babysit me and stuff, and we only became... now I consider her just a really, really good friend, but that happened when I really became an adult. It's just our lives were in such different places at every point, and so if he's drawing, I mean, he sounds like a creative head like you.
Yeah.
Seems like you guys would be able to bond.
It's I'm actually moving to Atlanta, Georgia in a month, so
I don't know why I did it like this. I was like, sorry, that was so inappropriate. I didn't mean it like
it's
that.
It's all good. No, it was cool. They're gonna love it. But
amazing.
I have the majority of them live in Atlanta, so it's one of the things that I think about. Getting to know them better on a daily-ish basis if I'm not working on this.
Yeah, and I mean, family is tough. I'm now learning in my personal life that family is one of the hardest concepts to grapple. But it takes time, and you may really hit it off. You might not.
Got to be willing to win and willing to lose.
Yeah, it's like any sort of relationship. You're not just gonna instantaneously become, soulmates with someone. And just because you're related by blood, that doesn't mean that you will be or should be by any means. So.
And I think that's something that we've seen briefly with Amethyst, where in the episode Earthlings, where Jasper is in turmoil and she's corrupted and she's taken out, she's bubbled. When she's bubbled, Amethyst says she calls her sis, and that's one of the little.
Do you feel that?
Yes, it's one of those just really subtle and little things.
Yeah.
Because she didn't know about the Amethyst, she didn't have siblings like that, but she considered Jasper a sister.
What was the closest thing she had, I think.
Yeah, and it's. I don't know, maybe this is just me looking too deep into it, but when she hears Jasper's story, when she hears briefly how tormented Jasper is,
right.
I think she's able to see herself in that, because
totally
she was always comparing herself to Jasper, saying Jasper's better than her, Jasper's this, she's the perfect quartz. But then she sees, oh, she's messed up like me. And it's just accepting her for who she is.
Totally. I think I think he hit the nail on the head. And I mean, certainly in terms of the way that I thought about it, it was like she was the easiest person to, or easiest other being to compare herself to. That's the only reference point she had, so that's what she was going with. And then to really, that was like the main connector. And that's also how she bonded with Steven. It's like, oh,
You're different.
we all kind of have pain in us.
You're Earth Gem. You're Shorty Squad.
Yeah, you know, like there's nothing more humbling and unifying than just feeling like, oh, I guess we all don't really belong anywhere.
Yeah, that's.
And through that, we all belong everywhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so I was talking to Slice earlier. So I was just in Korea and Hong Kong. So I went to Korea 2 years ago, and I actually met my birth family.
Yeah.
So I met my Amethyst. And then so when I was just back there, like a couple weeks ago, it's really hard. I mean, I've spent my whole life searching for these people, and then I get there, and it's so overwhelming, and you feel like you should cherish every moment, and you should be happy every moment, but it is very emotionally
Charged. It's
totally everything. It's like you're related to these people. They're your family, but they're complete strangers, and there are cultural differences.
It makes you question the concept of family, like what
and
what
self.
Does that, yeah, exactly.
And self, because totally a family. Like, yeah, what is a family? Okay, so we're biological family, but like when I was in Korea, I kept being like, oh man, I cried for a second.
Yeah, you're giving me the feelings. Like I'm just.
But like I would, like every moment I was in Korea, I was like, oh, but my family's like in upstate New York right now, doing like the whitest shit they could ever do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here I'm in Korea, my like homeland, and like, no, I'm actually really happy talking about this. But like, I think it's such a weird. So as you can see, even through my emotions right now, it's like, oh, of course I tap into Amethyst's storyline. It's like so real to me.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry.
That's just. It just shows how incredible the writing of Steven Universe is.
Yeah.
It can.
Totally.
If you, being the voice of the character, is able to resonate with the content to this degree, then just think about everyone else who's enjoying this stuff and watching. For myself, definitely, it's a lot. I'm very grateful to the crew, to you, to everyone.
I'm so grateful to the Crewniverse, and especially Rebecca. They've really opened amazing doors. Not just on the surface level, okay, professional opportunities, but I would say it's more of like an emotional maybe awakening or sort of I mean it. Again, it's like such an Amethyst thing. I'm like, now I'm learning how to love myself, and I do belong. I do belong. But it's funny. Like, so I resonate with Amethyst's story on this very deep personal level as an adoptee. But like my buddy Amra, who goes by Flitz or Nerdsworth, he's like, dude, he's black, and he's like, it is the story of so many like African American people, because like he's like, for me, I don't know my origins. I don't know where I come from.
Yeah.
And so he relates to it that deeply, but just on a completely other dimension.
So it's like in a different lane, but
totally.
it's still grounded in the same reality. It's
exactly. But that obviously, it speaks to the brilliance of the storytelling, right?
Yeah,
it can connect
so many different layers just on.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. I feel like this whole podcast could just be, or like video could just be like, it's just so crazy.
Yeah,
like, it just like feels crazy, and
show is just crazy, man.
It's just crazy. Oh, well. Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this video is getting a bit crazy.
So this is your first collab ever?
Yes, this is my
first
so
honored.
Collab.
Oh my god.
I've never done a collab with my channel before, and this is like live action. I don't do this very often. It's always just like my icon, just like, hey, how are you? I'm SliceofOtaku. It doesn't move. It just.
But do you make your icon cry ever?
Yeah, it has like I have a crying.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, but
Okay, but this is your first IRL cry?
yeah, it's
You're welcome.
this is beautiful.
You're welcome in advance. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. And okay, so I gotta inform you.
Okay.
At the end of my videos, I
Yes.
always say, I end it off, but
Yeah.
I say I love you, and you have to say it with like passion.
Okay.
Can you do that? Like
Sure.
I love you, just like that,
Okay.
just like. All right. So
To the can?
yeah, let me
Okay.
just
Okay.
let me just ease them in.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome day.
I love you.
Yeah.
Was that real enough?
Yeah, that was.
I meant it.
Yeah, that was.
I also love you. You're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
And I don't hug everybody. I'm usually like, I don't like hugs. But I like legit
Yeah,
friendship.
this is great. This is. I didn't expect it to get this emotional.
Yeah.
But,
I'm sorry.
but yeah, guys.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.